my name is Amy Sequeira, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to tell you guys about my personal professional journey. My actual career that I get to enjoy today is sort of multifaceted, and I get to be a part of a whole lot of interesting things, but it's mostly because of the journey that I've had. So when I was in high school, I actually wrote a letter to my doctor's office and asked if I could work for them. So at 16 years old, I started in healthcare, and I always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare. So it was just a matter of finding a place where I could get my foot in the door. So 16 years old, I started in healthcare, and then I also attended the Kent Skills or Kent Career, I think it's Tech Center these days, Tech Center healthcare preparation class. So in addition to jumping into the healthcare field, I also found a way to learn more about it and to grow in my resume and maybe even clinical skills. So I attended the Tech Centers program for about a year and a half. And then when I graduated high school, I went to work in Traverse City. I found a job working in the emergency room in Traverse City so that when I finished my high school education, I could go up there and stay with some friends and work in the hospital. So I spent a few months there. Then I went to school in Baker College in Muskegon, spent about a year there, and then decided I really wanted to be back in Grand Rapids, and I was kind of bored with just full-time school. So part of my point in talking to you guys today is to tell you that not everything is a straight path, and things don't always go exactly as you think they will. So upon my return to Grand Rapids, I started working in a pizza shop, got an apartment with a friend, and then also got a job working at Spectrum Health. So I was 18 at the time. I was working in the admitting office. That's where you come in and they ask you your name, date of birth, your insurance information, all that sort of thing. So I started there at 18 years old and still working at pizza shop part-time. So I liked to keep busy. But all the while I worked there, I was going to Grand Rapids Community College and sort of paying for classes as I went. I took advantage of the tuition reimbursement policy that Spectrum had, and I just took whatever classes sounded interesting at the time. And I thought I was going to go into this job category or that job category, and I would contact people in the hospital and ask them to tell me about their jobs, and they gladly would every single time. I got to shadow a lot of people, but I continued working on my degree. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So over the course of 11 years working at Spectrum Health, I finally finished my bachelor's degree. So it took me that whole time, but I was working full-time also. So I finished my bachelor's degree actually in management, and it seemed somewhat uninteresting and not clinical. But at the time I was working in an occupational health and safety clinic in the administration area. And at the time I was very interested in project management, and I was interested in changing how we did things and making things more clear for everybody who was involved in the clinic. So wherever I worked, I took every opportunity when something seemed like it didn't really flow very well. I took the opportunity to ask the leadership if I could take it on as a project and change it. So I was working in the administration area of this occupational health and safety clinic, and I was talking to someone who said that there was this team at Spectrum Health who specialized in teaching people how to use tools and systems to improve the operations of the business and make things easier, smoother, faster, less aggravating. So I couldn't believe that people got paid to do that. And then I asked if I could have a formal mentor from that group. So they did assign me a mentor. My director was supportive, and that's how I learned about operational improvement. So fast forward about 12 years later, I worked in the corporate group, actually at Spectrum Health, for operational improvement. I spent all kinds of time in areas like the emergency room, surgery suites, sterile processing where they clean up sterilized instruments. I worked in nutrition services and how they create meals for patients and deliver them. I worked in the lab, radiology, just kind of everywhere. in the hospital. So I got all this really wonderful experience. I even got to be a part of designing new healthcare buildings to make sure that we were matching the design and construction with actually how we do the work. So I spent all this time in healthcare, about, let's say, 20 years by the time I left healthcare. And at the time, I worked for a lot of people who had done continuous improvement or process improvement in manufacturing. And I had attended some trainings in manufacturing, so it always sounded like I might find it intriguing, and I always like to learn things. So in addition to starting my master's degree, 5 years ago, I started my master's degree. I got a project management certification, a lean certification, and then I accepted a position in manufacturing. So I left healthcare after 20 years, but the same thing that I did in healthcare, I do over in manufacturing. So I look at the way people do the work, and we talk about ways that they could do it more easily or simply or clearly. So it's really, the best part about my job is that I get to make things more simple and not things becoming too complex and full of layers. So it's really very fun, and I get to spend a lot of time learning about other people's jobs. I've been able to travel all the way around the world. We have plants, manufacturing operations in many countries, and I've been all over North America. We have 11 locations in North America, but I've been to 5 plants in 4 different countries in Europe to see our manufacturing operations, India, China, and it's just been wonderful. I also work with the leadership and how they connect their strategy for the business all the way throughout the organization, so that every employee who's setting goals for the year knows that they are contributing to the overall business objectives that our leadership has. So that's been something very, very fun that I get to do, and just seeing all different sort of levels in organizations. And what I really wanted to encourage you guys with, again, is that not every path is this linear path. You don't always have to know exactly what you're going to do. But if you continue to work really hard, work a full-time job, take advantage of tuition reimbursement or programs in the community. I had tuition reimbursement through both organizations that I worked for, and I took advantage of the Kent Tech program. I went to several different colleges in the community, so Grand Rapids Community College I mentioned. I went to Grand Valley. I even took a little bit of time and went to a school in Maui for a bit. And then I ultimately graduated from Cornerstone over on the Beltline. And so today, because I pursued things that just seemed interesting and just kept working and trying to make things better everywhere I went, it ended up being my full-time job. And in addition to that, I now teach project management for one of the universities in the area. And I work in the continuous improvement department for Haworth, which is a furniture manufacturer out in Holland. So I just wanted to encourage you guys that it's okay if you don't know exactly what you're doing today, but to continue to work hard on what you enjoy and to ask people what it is they do, and ask for opportunities and ask for mentorships, because people will be happy to help you. People were very open with me, and I didn't have that direct path. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, and it took me a really long time to get there, but I still do that. Even after all these years of working, I just choose what sounds interesting and I go after the next adventure. So I highly encourage you guys to take advantage of the graciousness that people are willing to extend to you and to provide you more information, and just continue working on what sounds fun to you. All right, well, all my best to you, and if I can ever be helpful, please let me know. My name is Amy Sequeira, spelled S as in Sam, E-Q-U-E-I-R-A, and I can be found on LinkedIn. That's a professional networking site that I'm sure you've heard about before. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you and spend some time talking about your journey also. Take care.